The color, Summit Gray. The company, Sherwin-Williams. This is Hue Review, so let's review. I'm James from the Paint People. This is a channel all about painting, decorating, color, and color theory. And Hue Review is a show where I give you my opinion on paint colors. I'm going through as many colors as I can. And today is all about Summit Gray by Sherwin-Williams, which is a pretty popular gray. I'm going to give you the overall vibe of this color, how versatile I think it is, and then I'll give you my verdict. Whether I like this color, whether I would use it in my home, how I would use it, all that good stuff. But before I do that, a quick word from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is us. ThePaintPeople.com is your go-to destination for quality paint and paint supplies. One of our standout features is our ability to create any color from all major paint brands. And the best part, we deliver across the US and Canada. Visit our website today and discover a world of colors, quality, and convenience. And as a thank you for supporting us on YouTube, use coupon code JAMES5 for 5% off your order. Okay, so I'm gonna get into this review on Summit Gray. So right before I dive into this color, I wanna give you some alternatives from other paint companies. So if you didn't wanna use Sherwin-Williams, but you wanted something pretty close to Summit Gray, here are your options. They are not spot-on matches. They're just kind of close, maybe 80, 90% of the way. If you want Summit Gray, full-fledged, 100%, just get in Sherwin-Williams. That's always my recommendation. What's the vibe of this color? What's it all about? It's a gray, but what makes it summity? I guess in this case, summit means dark because I find Summit Gray to be a very dark gray. And we know how dark it is because we can look at the LRV, or the light reflectance value, which is a 30. And that means it has about a 30% light reflectance score. It only reflects about a third of the light that hits it, and that makes it a darker mid-tone color, which means in your home, it's going to feel pretty rich, pretty noticeable. Now, I think we all knew that, of course, Summit Gray, this looks like a gray, but the thing about gray is there's a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot of subtleties. The undertones aren't always as apparent as you might expect. What kind of gray is this? I think it's very much a neutral gray, which is kind of rare. Usually grays are a little more warm or cool leaning or whatever the case may be. I find that Summit Gray is pretty balanced. If anything, it maybe leans towards the taupey side of gray, which also means there's a bit of brown maybe mixed in, and like a touch of a red undertone. And red combined with gray typically translates to purple. If anything, this is a gray that does go a little more towards the purple side of things, which is kind of like a stone gray, like an earthy stone gray, which I really enjoy. I think it's an awesome color. So I think the color is going to feel a bit more moody and dramatic, but still grounded and settled, which I think is pretty cool. So that's the vibe, a bit of an earthy, darker, slightly purple leaning gray, very slightly. What's the versatility of this color? On the interior side of things and exterior. So inside the home, I would put Summit Gray at a low-mid versatility, lower middle class. And the reason for that is, even though it is gray, I think it's just a bit dark for a lot of people as like a wall color. I more so see it being used as an accent color, like an accent wall for a much lighter gray. It's sort of in this middle ground where it's not super dramatic off black territory, which could be really cool for those high contrast looks. But then it's also not light enough where you can easily just use it in rooms and not really worry about it. It has that decent amount of depth. So it's in this awkward place for me. And also the purple undertone, I think works in a lot of situations, and I do enjoy that kind of look, but for some people, it may clash a little bit depending on what other neutrals you surround it with. So just be very careful, test your colors. Before you get a lot of big cans of paint, just get one tiny little tester pot. I think it'll really serve you. On the exterior side of things, I put Summit Gray at a high versatility. I think dark grays like this look really cool when used outside. On the trim, definitely on the main parts of a home, or even on sections. A lot of exterior design nowadays focuses on different parts of the home being different colors. A certain section might be really cool with some Summit Gray slapped on. I think the undertones are great for exterior because it is neutral, but it does lean towards that purple side, which can hopefully help settle the cool aspect of the sun. So it'll probably feel cooler outside, but not so much so that it's going to look blue. So I think it's in a good position there. Really like it as an exterior choice. All right, so verdict time. How would I use this color? Where does it sit on the palette pyramid? I definitely don't think this is a main color. I don't even think it's a solid support color choice. This, to me, is an accent finishing color. So Summit Gray, I think, works best in those more accent situations, probably accent wall rather than accent room. I think it's going to really stand out amongst all the other lighter neutrals that are really popular nowadays. Yet it still also has a little more lightness than like your deadpan blacks that are just super dark and sitting at like a 3 to 5 LRV. This is a 30 LRV gray, so it's kind of in that middle between midtone and really, really dark colors, which could give you a little more flexibility on either end. Now, before I give you my final verdict on whether I would use this color, what are some other colors that give you different levels of depth? The first one I would recommend is probably extra white. This would be a great off-white choice if you wanted something on your baseboards and trim. You wanted just a clean white to go with Summit Gray. I think it's a good choice. And then if you wanted a color that's sort of in between the two, quite a bit lighter than Summit Gray, but still shares the same sort of vibe, essence, undertones, I'd recommend something like Zircon. So this color kind of sits more around that high 50, low 60 LRV range. So a lighter color for sure. A lot more usable, I would say, as an interior choice, but it still has enough difference between extra white. So you get that nice contrast on either end. Zircon, extra white, Summit Gray, they all kind of fit together. They're very coordinating colors from the same sort of family. So that's how I would use it. But would I? Would I use Summit Gray in my home? No, I wouldn't. I don't really gravitate towards the cooler grays anymore, as a wall color choice especially. And if I did, I would probably go darker. I'd probably go with like a nice charcoal gray, slate gray, something even more cool leaning maybe to pull it in that direction to sort of go opposite. But I find these middle of the road grays to be really middle of the road. They don't really speak to me as much as they used to. But that's a review. So if you want to see a Summit Gray color palette at the end of the week, let me know in the comment section below, and it'll be on the next episode of Palette Pyramid. It's either this color or Sandy Brown, which we reviewed in this video right over here. And also stay up to date with a subscription if you haven't already.